Hey, this is the Long Lost Gamer, and today we are going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to play the challenge of the month. This will also serve as a sort of beginner's guide to Civilization 6 and to the Culture Victory in particular. Now, normally, when you start a game in Civilization 6, you'll probably click on single player, maybe create a game, and you'll have a bunch of options depending on which DLC for Civilization 6 you own. However, in the Age of Abundance Challenge of the Month, things are going to work a little bit differently. The DLC for the game, Gathering Storm and Rise and Fall, are disabled, so a lot of things that many of us are used to in playing this game are completely missing. Let's take a look. Alright, so before we begin this game by clicking on this button, let's take a look at some of the information on this screen. In particular, if you are not aware, in Civilization 6, we, the players, get to choose civilizations and sometimes options of different leaders for those civilizations to play the game as. In this challenge, we're going to be playing as the Greek Empire and specifically as the leader Pericles. They get certain special abilities, special bonuses. If you look at Surrounded by Glory here, it says, plus 5% culture per city-state you are the suzerain of. So, one thing that you want to focus on is getting suzerainties. We will talk about that later. Next, we have Plato's Republic, one extra wildcard policy slot in any government. This is also pretty handy. You have access to a unique land unit, the Hoplite, although I think we actually cannot build this unit, and I'll talk about that in just a second. Next, and last, the unique district, the Acropolis. This is incredibly important, and most of the playthrough will be focused on this. But beyond the unique abilities and units and districts of Greece, we also have a little information here. As we can read here, the Age of Abundance is upon us from now until December 12th. Test your leadership skills in the first of our new series of in-game events by achieving a culture victory as the Greek politician and general, Pericles. You start with 2 cities and 1,000 gold. This is also a Renaissance era start. I don't see that listed on here, but we will see that as soon as we get the game loaded. Close to valuable resources, and it's the exact same map as any other Civilization 6 player around the world who chooses to participate. There are no barbarians. That means that we have an extra safe start. Alright, let's go ahead and click on Begin Game. So, if you follow the advice I'm about to give, you will win this game. Period. This is at Prince difficulty. That's fairly low for Civilization 6. I usually play at Deity level, which is the highest difficulty available. At Prince, you get no special bonuses, but neither do your AI opponents. So, in a sense, it's a fair playing field. However, once you get better at Civilization 6, that actually feels unfair to the AI, as they will have trouble matching your ability to plan things out. So, what do we need to do to win the game? In this instance, we need to build our Acropolis, settlers, and builders. Those are the 3 most important things to do to win this map. If you do those 3 things, and you do it a lot, you will win. Make sure that you build the buildings inside the Acropolis as well, and you're good to go. I'm going to play through this whole map, and I will do more optimization and explanation on top as I go along, but I will try to keep it pretty low level. So the first thing that I think you should do, since this is a Renaissance era start, is go to your government. We need to choose one. We have 5 governments to choose from. The most card slots available to us are from monarchy, so that's what we're going to start with. Let's go ahead and take that. Now we have to plan our government. One thing I know for sure that I want to have plugged in is this card right here, Serfdom. Newly trained builders gain 2 extra build actions. That really helps to increase the efficiency of builders, and because we will build quite a few builders, we want to get as much value out of them as we can. Next, I'm going to put in the Diplomatic League card into our Diplomatic Policy slot. Your first envoy sent to each city-state counts as 2 envoys. Remember, one of our bonuses as Greece is to get additional culture per turn, for every city-state that you are suzerain of. Now, to become suzerain, you need to have more envoys in a city-state than any other civilization has, and that must be a minimum of 3. Next, there really aren't any important military cards at the moment for this kind of playthrough. This will be a pretty militarily light game, but putting in conscription just to make any units we do produce a little bit cheaper to maintain is not a bad idea, because all military units do have a maintenance cost per turn associated with them. I think maritime industries to build faster naval units is a good idea, so we can get out and explore the world a little bit more quickly also. Urban planning for a little bit of early game extra production, +1 production in all cities, is a good fallback card. If you're not sure what to choose, you can use that one, and it will be handy. I'm also going to plug in literary tradition for 2 great writer points per turn. We will take a look at that after I've finished choosing my government cards. And I think we will also put in colonization to get 50% extra production towards the construction of settlers. Settlers are what allow you to build new cities. I'm going to confirm policies now. You can change these cards around for free anytime you finish completing research on a civic. Because that's what I'm talking about, let's go ahead and choose our next civic now. Humanism is definitely the best choice for us because that unlocks the Art Museum and Archaeological Museum. Now, these buildings are the second level buildings for the Theater Square district, replaced by the Acropolis when you're playing as Greece. So we're going to want those buildings. That's how we get the culture victory. Next, let's choose our scientific research. From here, I think going straight for cartography is a reasonable option. Again, just so we can go out and explore the world as quickly as we can. We've got 2 cities, Athens and Argos. And Athens has a lot of resources around it. We have 2 copies of deer, 2 cattle, 2 wheat, stone, horses, sheep, copper, rice, another cattle here. This is a pretty well situated capital, and it'll grow very easily over time. Most of these resources are what we call bonus resources. You see that here with the stone, the wheat, cattle, deer, copper, and the sheep. They're all bonus resources. And bonus resources can be harvested by builders for an immediate boost to usually food production or gold. And we may opt to do that. We, in the community, refer to that as chopping a part of a tile. You can also chop or harvest certain resources: woods, rainforest, and marsh. If you harvest marsh, you get a bunch of extra food. If you harvest rainforest, it's split between food and production. If you harvest woods, you get a bunch of instant production in the city that owns that tile. If we take a look at Argos, it looks like this is a decent city for starting out with a bit of coastal activity. It can build us some ships. It has some nice bonus resources nearby as well. And bonus resources on water tiles, you generally do not want to harvest them because there's not a lot that can make water tiles more productive or fertile. So we will keep these fish for sure to make sure that Argos always has some good food tiles. That's more relevant because in its immediate surroundings, as you can see, these tiles are mostly one food. That green icon, that's a ear of corn. And only one food on each of these tiles means that it's not going to get enough food to grow. Although we do have these rainforest tiles here with slightly better food. So it's got a nice mix of food to the north and production to the south. Athens, the same can be said, with production mostly on the west and food in the east. Now, the thing that I want to do to start this off is to determine where am I going to put my Acropolis. I think placing it on this Plains Hill is a reasonable choice. That'll give us a +2 adjacency to our Acropolis district. That means that as soon as the district is completed, it will on its own earn 2 culture per turn. Before we do that, let's use the Civilopedia. That's a resource in the top right of the screen right here. And let's go ahead and search for the Acropolis to see what it has to say here. So it replaces the Theater Square district, and it is also cheaper to build. That means that we can build it much more quickly. In fact, we can build it twice as quickly as other districts. And you see that that's matched by what's over here. Most of these districts, holy sites, campus, etc., it's going to take 6 turns, whereas the Acropolis will take 3 turns to build. It gets 1 culture bonus for being adjacent to a city center, plus 1 culture bonus for each adjacent wonder and district. It can only be built on hills. So we need to make sure, basically, any city that we create, it better have a hill for us to put the Acropolis down, because that's how we get our win condition. All right, we're going to place it here. And we're going to go into Argos immediately and place its Acropolis as well. We will place it on this tile directly east of the city. What should we do next? Well, we have this builder here that we can think about using, but I think we'll just go ahead and first use this trader. And yeah, we're going to send it from Argos to Athens. That is a domestic trade route, which means that the yields are primarily food and production, and how much food and production you get is determined by the districts created by the city that the trade route is being sent to. So it's getting +1 food and +1 production on this trade route to Athens simply because of the city center. That already counts for 1 food and production. As we build more districts, domestic trade routes will become more powerful. Let's go ahead and begin that route. That'll make Argos grow a little more quickly. Also took a turn off the production of the Acropolis. Now, if we come in to take a look at the city screen for Athens, if you look at the bottom, we can see the yields that this city is generating. 5 culture return, 5.3 culture per turn, 5.2 food, 15.7 production, 7.2 science, 7.3 gold per turn. These are all pretty good, and it means that the city is not really lacking for anything, so we don't need to worry about boosting any particular yield. We can just generally improve the city. That's good enough. And I think as a beginner's approach to Civilization 6, that's a reasonable thing to do. I see these horses here. I want to improve them because I know horse tiles are very productive. Okay, you also get little notifications on the right side here. If you right click on the icon, it will dismiss it. And now, before we click on next turn, we have to think, what else can we do? Well, we do have a lot of gold, 1,257 to be exact. What's the best way we can use that gold? I would argue buying settlers and builders. We're going to start with purchasing 2 settlers, 1 in Athens and also 1 in Argos. Now, the one that I purchased in Athens was 320 gold. Here it says 440. What's the deal with that? Well, certain units and infrastructure become more expensive as you produce more of them over time. So, having purchased 1 settler made the next settler a bit more expensive. We still want to purchase it. All right, so we've got 2 cities, 2 settlers. We have started building our Acropolises. Let's go to the next turn. Let's go ahead and improve these horses with this builder. This builder only has 3 charges, which is not great, but it's good enough. And we see here with this icon that is highlighted, that means that we can actually click it and it will perform the action listed. Build improvement, pasture, +1 food, +1 production every turn on that tile, as well as an additional 0.5 housing for the city that owns it. Where do I want to send these settlers? We know that we don't need to worry about barbarians, so we can send our settlers unaccompanied. This is usually a bad idea. For the most part, you want to make sure that your settlers have some sort of unit that can protect them from hostile units such as barbarians, but we are safe in this game. So I'm going to send this settler from Argos in this direction. There's a very good chance that I'll find somewhere to settle there. Okay, this settler can move in the southeast direction, and we have 500 gold left, so it's going to be too expensive to purchase another settler. It now costs 560 gold to purchase the next one. So what are we going to buy instead? A builder here and a builder in Argos. Notice how each one of them has 5 charges instead of the 3 that this builder started with. That should be enough to do quite a lot of improvement to these cities and maybe even harvest a few things to improve the speed at which we complete our objectives in this game. I want to click on this here, Great People, and I want to show this side in particular. Great writers, artists, and musicians. Essentially, we want to get as many of these as we can. The first thing that we will be able to get are great writers. We're currently earning 2 points per turn towards earning a great writer. That'll increase as we build our Acropolises and the buildings inside them. Hopefully we can get the very first great writer. Alright, Athens has already completed its Acropolis district. I would like to build the amphitheater, but I might take a little time off first to build another settler. The more cities that you have, the easier it is to win the game. This is almost always just a very straightforward truth of this game. We're going to create a mine on this copper. I'm not going to harvest it. We could. It would give us a bit of extra gold, but I think it's okay. I'd rather have the gold per turn. Alright, so that mine added 2 production to this tile. Here, you see the bulldozer icon. That's remove feature, also known in the community as chopping. So I'm going to chop the woods from this tile. We see in Argos, we have 5 turns until the Acropolis will be finished. After we chop, it is finished. So we just saved over 5 turns of production there. Now, Argos needs to grow before it can build things more effectively. But what happens when you chop out production on tiles like woods, if the amount of production that you get from chopping is more than enough to finish whatever it was that the city is working on, I think we should make the galley. Yeah, we'll get a 1-turn galley from all that extra production that was left over from completing the Acropolis. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put a city here. Because we're on Prince level difficulty especially, I don't think we need to worry too much about optimal city placement. That's a bit more of an advanced topic anyway, so we're just going to put a city in the first place that we can. How do I know I can place a city here? Well, right now, when you click on the settler, the game automatically puts on something called the settler lens. So there's a little menu in the top right here if you click on settler lens to explain what these colors mean. Red means you cannot settle there. It's too close to another city, or it's blocked by terrain, like a mountain. You can't put a settler on a mountain. And I think with Ephesus, again, we should just immediately build our Acropolis. That's what we're going to do. We'll place it right here. Here in Argos, we will select the amphitheater. It says 23 turns, but that's going to change pretty quickly as the city grows. Just you wait and see. First thing we can do to improve that is putting a mine on this hills tile. Now it's down to 17 turns, so that took 6 turns off, just for 1 improvement. Okay, here in Athens, I am going to harvest this stone. The reason that I choose to do so is because it's on a hills tile. A hills can always be improved with a mine. The amount of additional production that you get out of a mine is higher than you get out of a quarry. If we wanted to improve the stone, we would place a quarry, and we would only get +1 production from that. That's not what we're going to do. Instead, we're going to harvest it and put a mine down in its place. This will probably finish the settler in Athens. Yep. So now we're going to come back in and make another amphitheater. This settler will go down to the southwest. All right, we have officially met Mogadishu. Right, this sort of Capitol building dome sort of icon. That tells you that you were the first one to meet that city-state, the first civilization on the map to meet that city-state. That gets you an automatic envoy, and because of our government setup with the Diplomatic League, that envoy gets doubled. So, we have 2. We could become suzerain of them right now. That means we would get 5% additional culture per turn. So, why would we not choose that? Let's go ahead and put 1 envoy in there. You see that at 3 envoys, we can become suzerain and we get an additional bonus ability. In this case, for Mogadishu, our trader units will not be vulnerable to plundering on water tiles. Because there are no barbarians on this map, that's probably not that useful. We're doing a culture victory, so we don't intend to go to war. But as Greece, the most important thing is the additional culture per turn that we'll get. And now we're up to 14.7 culture. I am going to harvest the deer in Athens. Deer tiles are okay. Sometimes I keep them, sometimes I don't. In this case, I choose to harvest because I know I could also put a lumber mill on this tile, and that would be pretty productive. And I want to finish our amphitheaters as quickly as possible. So that brought it down from 7 turns to produce the amphitheater to only 2. Okay, now in Argos, I actually want to harvest the wheat here to make the city grow so that I can work more productive tiles. So let's go ahead and harvest this wheat. It's now size 3 city, and it's going to become size 4 pretty quick. Amphitheater is down to 13 turns. We're going to place a mine on this tile to increase productivity even more. We did get a galley, so we are starting to explore the world just a little bit. Ooh, we have a lot of coast over here to consider settling. So we might put this settler on one of these tiles, and 1, 2, 3, 4. I could still put a settler in this area as well. That'd be great. I think I'm not going to use this builder to make a lumber mill because it would be more efficient to come here and we can chop the deer and the woods and make a mine. That will use up all the charges on this builder, but that means that we can probably rush out another settler and get started on a second district. It's a little harder to determine where I might want to place a city on this part of the map. Looks like there's okay production here, okay food potential here, plus we get some niter, and we could have a good harbor if we placed a city here or here. I think we don't have any use for the desert tile, so perhaps settling a city right there would be good. All right, we'll go ahead and settle a city on this desert tile. Okay, Athens has really quite a lot of work to do, so we're going to go ahead and make another builder and try to chop it out. Boom, that was instant. Lovely. If you look at the production options in a city, once you've completed certain things, depends on what it is. In our case, a theater square, the Acropolis. If you go down to the very bottom, you see this section here, projects. There are a lot of different projects that you can potentially do in the game, but theater square festivals are what we're going to focus on because they help us get to those great people much more quickly. Every turn that a city works on a theater square festival, it will produce bonus culture. And once it's finished, we get additional great writer, artist, and musician points. So we are going to load up one theater square festival project and see how much closer that gets us to our very first great writer. Over in Corinth, I would like to place the Acropolis as well, and we don't have a whole lot of options for where we can put it, so I am going to spend 130 gold, we barely have enough, and put an Acropolis on this hill here. Okay, because there are sea resources here, that makes me want to put a city on this location. Can also get an okay harbor. This iron tile is not a hill, so we'll probably put the city there so that we can fit in an Acropolis on this spot. Good chance we end up putting a harbor right about here. And we place this mine down in Argos, and we harvest the cattle in Athens. Now we're at Pop 7 again, working only 3 improved tiles. We really do need to work on improving that. We'll put a mine down here. We will go ahead and found our city on this tile. Mykenae, nice to see you. We do want to place this Acropolis here as well, but we're going to be a little bit more careful about it because we want to maximize our chopping in particular. So unless we just swap to this tile, yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. So let's show that again. All right, this tile currently, this grassland hills, belongs to Athens. You can see that at the top of the tooltip that pops up right there, owner, Greece, Athens. But if we click on Mykenae, we can see here this button swap. Now we take that tile for Mykenae. All right, so we come back over to Mykenae, and it's time to put down the Acropolis. We're going to put it on this grassland hills. That's totally fine. 7 turns until that is built. So that's pretty cool. You know, we are within Close range of completing 3 more theater square districts. It's going to go by really quickly. We're going to place a plantation on these bananas. That just adds, at the moment, a couple extra gold per turn and some housing. Placing a mine down. In a culture victory, generally speaking, it's a good idea to try to be friends with all the other AI civilizations if you can. All right, we finished humanism, so it's time to choose a different government. And I think if we take a look here, Merchant Republic has the fewest military slots and gold purchases are cheaper. But we do get more envoy points through monarchy. I think Merchant Republic would be a better government for us overall. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and research that. I think that the first thing we should do is probably make a couple scouts, honestly. We need them to explore the world. Cartography will be done in 5 turns, so that can be Argos's goal for the time being. So over in Corinth, we're not going to get much done unless we can get some builders in here. I think we will just queue up a couple of builders in each of these cities once they finish their theater squares. We're going to put a farm down in Mycenae to make a super productive, or super fertile tile rather, 5 food, that supports 2.5 population all on its own. All right, we're queuing up builders in all of those cities. As I said, we are going to chop the woods here. That finishes the builder in Mycenae. And we will immediately switch over to the amphitheater. We have finished exploration. Let's take a look in this direction. I think we want to head towards natural history to unlock archaeologists, possibly. But I think we need to keep making our settlers in particular. So I'm going to prioritize that. I want to get, at least 3 more cities, I'm sure. Okay, Ephesus, you need to make your amphitheater. We're already getting pretty close to our first great writer. That's cool. So there's nothing really complicated going on right now. I'm basically just trying to focus on improving the land in my territory. So I've been making mines, farms, pastures, things like that. Make sure that when you hover over a city name, you can see which tiles are being worked. If you notice that the tiles that are being worked, those are the tiles highlighted in red, are not improved, you should probably improve them. Don't wait around too long for that kind of stuff. Makes a big difference in the quality of your empire. And another cultural city-state. Well, you know what we got to do, right? We have to take suzerainty of them as well. Any districts that we have on or next to coast or lake tiles will provide an additional 2 culture per turn. That's going to work out really well for us. And the reason is because city centers are districts. So Argos, Corinth, Ephesus, and Mycenae are all creating 2 more culture per turn just because of that. But this theater square also making 2 more culture per turn. And the harbors should make 2 culture per turn eventually as well. So we're up to 76.5 culture per turn already. Yeah, that's pretty good. So in the capital, we are going to make a builder and then a settler. We're going to go straight for printing because that will double the effects of great works of writing. Oh, that's odd. The Galapagos Island tile here spawned with crabs on it. I have literally never seen this before. Crabs on an island. This is not Christmas Island, but it sure looks like it might as well be for the purposes of this map and this playthrough. Huh. All right, time to build another city. City, finally. Now, we have enough gold to buy a builder. I think that's actually not a bad idea. So I'm going to do that, especially here in Sparta, because it's going to be rough for this city to become any good. We're going to start with a harbor, a little bit different. All right, this settler, I actually want it to go claim this island over here. I think that'd be really fun. Or we could even sneak onto some of the coastal tiles of these other land masses. That would be pretty great if we can make it work. Let's give it a try. Okay, chopping the rainforest on this tile takes about half the turns off of the harbor. 15 turns isn't too bad. And now we're up to population 3 in Sparta. We just declared friendship with Arabia and Russia and Movember and Catherine. Okay, great. Everyone's my friend. Isn't that nice? This city's looking like it's doing okay. Let's get to work on the harbor. Okay, we get our first great person, and yeah, it's the great writer. That's excellent news. So we're going to go ahead and recruit that. And in Ephesus, I think we also should just get to work on the harbor. And we will put a mine down here as well. Ooh, that's a good tile for Athens, yeah. All right. This great writer can be used in any theater square with an amphitheater or in the palace as well. All right, there's our very first great work. All right, well, let's chop this out. That's fine. Got the harbor a little bit more quickly. Okay, what we really need are some more cities. So I think I might actually just start doing a round of settlers around the empire. Oh no, we lost suzerainty of Namadol. That is not okay. We definitely want to take that back. You want me to put 3 whole envoy points into that, do you? All right. It's worth it. Let's keep it. Up to 116 culture per turn. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Alright, so if we look at the Great Works screen, over here, we've got the amphitheater in Athens, and we've got 2 great works created by Niccolò Machiavelli, each one providing 4 culture and 4 tourism per turn. Good stuff. I'm going to go ahead and preemptively place the Acropolis district there as well. Just met Zanzibar. And Mohenjo-Daro. Well, we have to put 1 envoy into Mohenjo-Daro just to get more culture per turn. Because if you look at the city-state screen, it looks like it's all commercial and culture city-states on this map. That's kind of wacky. There are 3 stages, really 4 stages of relationship with a city-state. The first stage, you earn with just 1 envoy placed in that city-state. And that will give +2 of whichever yield that city-state is associated with. Gold in the case of commercial city-states like Mogadishu, Zanzibar. Culture for cultural city-states like these 4. You get 1 culture in the capital in every amphitheater building for them. And then the tier 2, you get +4 if it's gold, or +2 for culture and things like culture science, etc., from the associated buildings in their respective districts. And at the 3rd level, it's similar for the 3rd level building. And finally, there's the suzerainty bonus. And there are a whole bunch of city-states in this game, so just take a look through them and see which bonuses seem interesting to you. If you don't understand them all, that's okay. You will learn as you continue to play the game. So one last double check. How much culture per turn are we making now? 140. So it looks like we need to make an art museum soon, because we are going to get a great artist relatively soon. Hard build a settler, and then hard build the art museum. Okay, Corinth, I want you to build us a settler as well. Okay, Sparta, I want you to go ahead and build your Acropolis. We're going to go ahead and place our city here, Olympia. All right, let's put our harbor down first, because we can chop through it pretty easily in this location. Finished Olympia's harbor. Let's go ahead and probably chop out the lighthouse as well, although we could get the Acropolis in 3 turns. Feels irresponsible not to do that because it's more important than the lighthouse. Alright, harvest the sheep. That gets us up to pop 3, almost pop 4. And pop 4 is when you can place your second district. For those who don't know, you can place an additional district in every city after every 3 population earned beyond the first population in a city. So you can get a 3rd district at pop 7, 4th district at pop 10, etc. Okay, Mikane also built a settler. That's great. Ooh, that's a lot of pearls. Oh my gosh, seriously. That's a lot of pearls. Why are there so many pearls here? Chop the woods, that finishes the harbor. And the Acropolis would be best placed on this tundra hill. Let's just go ahead and settle here. This is not going to be a very great quality civilization. Alright, there's our great artist, our very first one. That's exciting. And another settler is not a bad idea. In Corinth, let's have you work on an art museum. Alright, here's our second great work of art. I think up here is actually a pretty nice area to settle. We could get a nice harbor here with a decent city here and an Acropolis absolutely wherever. So let's send it over to that island. All right, that is the 3rd great work of art from that artist. If we come in here, we'll see that the first work of an artist in a theming capable building, such as an art museum, will earn 3 culture and 4 tourism per turn. However, the second work in that same building only earns 1 culture, 1 tourism per turn. So we are going to definitely want to have at least a few art museums to shuffle this stuff around and make sure that we're maximizing our returns. Let's get open borders again. At least they're not charging. Big open borders turn. Come over to Argos and purchase an art museum. And in a few turns, we can move one of these great works of art into that museum. Now, culture per turn does not win you the game in a culture victory. Tourism per turn does. However, culture per turn gets you closer to a variety of policies that will enhance your ability to create tourism. Okay, in Sparta, I think we will purchase the amphitheater. You'll eventually get more fishing boats and a little bit more production that way, but there's not a lot we can do to make this a better city. So I think we use it to slowly create some extra builders for the empire. And Olympia needs another builder as well. Oh yeah, let's make this city. Let's go ahead and purchase a builder in here. Megara should make its amphitheater. Okay, in Mykenae, I think we should purchase the shipyard because that'll give us a lot of additional production and gold per turn. And get to work on the Archaeological Museum. Let's go back into the Great Works screen. Yeah, we can move this into here. So now that's getting 3 culture, 4 tourism per turn. And we will go ahead and move one into this museum as well out of the palace. Okay, well, here's one weird thing. We can't build lumber mills in Rainforest in the base game of Civ 6, apparently. So, time to chop out all of these rainforests and change them into farm triangles and get a little extra production out of them. Alright, chop once. There's another great work of writing. We are 22 turns away from our next great writer, and I think we can speed that along. Why don't you just work on an archaeological museum as well? There we go. That's a finished archaeological museum, so I suppose we should get to work on the archaeologist right away. We have enough gold to purchase yet another shipyard, and I like shipyards especially because they give a good amount of additional production to cities, especially coastal cities, of course, because you build them in the harbor. The gold on them can be really good also when there are a lot of commercial city-states, as there are in this game. Looks like it's half commercial, half cultural. So Sparta is a much better city now. Megara, yeah, just go ahead and work on your archaeological museum also. We want kind of a mix of archaeological museums and art museums. The archaeological museums also, if we take a look here in Megara, the archaeological museum provides great artist points per turn, so you still want to have at least some art museums to potentially hold those. Looks like we're already about to get another great artist, so that's great. Let's place our Acropolis on this desert hills. Skadoosh. Okay, now we work on the lighthouse. Why don't we go ahead and harvest this stone that gets the archaeological museum almost complete. Olympia will benefit a lot from this shipyard, so we are going to purchase it. And then we are going to make an archaeologist. All right, there's our next great artist. We're only 7 turns away from another great writer and our first great musician. Ephesus, you should probably build us a mix of builders and traders. Eritrea can finally get to work on its Acropolis. We've got 4 envoys to spend. Nothing really beneficial to spend them on yet. Yeah, we could get 1 more suzerainty, but then we would be down to 0 envoys, and in case the AI takes away one of the suzerainties that we already have, that would be really not great. It's nice to have a couple around in the bank that you can use to reestablish suzerainty just over your favorite city-states at the very least. Go ahead and purchase the shipyard for Miletos and build the Acropolis. Hey, there's our first artifact. Great. A longsword from our empire. So, Archaeological Museum has its first item. That's exciting. We are up to 64 tourism per turn. It's not bad. All right, we are going to harvest the deer to finish the Acropolis. And the amphitheater will only take 3 turns. We're going to chop it out in the next turn anyway. Ooh, this is exciting. We get access to our tier 3 government, and we are going to choose democracy. I think that'll work pretty well for us. All right, so let's do just a little bit of rearranging. We definitely want economic union. Even though we don't have any commercial hubs, we still want to double those adjacency bonuses on harbors. The New Deal is a very powerful card. 4 housing, 2 amenities, but minus 8 gold to all cities with at least 3 specialty districts. Okay, New Deal in the base game is a bit different from with the DLC, so we will leave that out for the time being. We could plug in Raj as a just maybe kinda thing. I think I really do mostly want more gold per turn. Anything that gets me more gold is better, but we're going to put in limes and finish up our walls across the empire. And let's go ahead and try New Deal because a lot of our cities do need more housing and amenities. 24 gold per turn is not that expensive, and with additional amenities, the yields might be good enough. Yeah, now we're getting 429 gold per turn. That's pretty good. Okay, we do want trade routes with every single civ in the game. We will do one with Rome now. Okay, there's that artifact. Somehow this is from Saladin. All right, there's another great writer. Wonderful. Also, our first great musician. Now, the great writer we will send that over to an empty amphitheater. What I don't really have any other place for a great work of music yet. What we need to do is wait 3 turns so that I can move this out of the palace, and then we can replace it with a great work of music. All right, Eritrea, yeah, you should get to work on your amphitheater, and we need some builder love down in here. Okay, so if we want to maximize the number of civilizations we have trade routes with, we're going to have to put this trader into Miletos, trade with Russia or Brazil. Same thing over here, we're going to place this trade route into Olympia so we can trade with the Congo. Okay, so you can trade with pretty much everyone. I think we will start by trading with Brazil. And let's take a moment to look at the culture victory screen. So I'm up to 8 out of 66 tourists needed to win. And if we look at Russia, we have a tourism malus because we have different governments. That's hard to avoid, but we also have a tourism bonus of 25% for open borders. And if you look at Brazil, we have an additional 25% boost for having a trade route with them. So we need to have a trade route with every single civilization to maximize our tourism generation. For that reason, we're going to go ahead and trade with the Congo from Olympia as well. Heritage tourism. We get plus 100% tourism from great works of art and artifacts. So of course we're going to plug that in. Perfect timing. And actually we can move this great work of art out of there. Let's put it into here. And now this great musician can create a great work of music in the capital for tourism, for culture. Looking pretty good. We are up to 115 tourism per turn. Where's our archaeologists? Right here. Okay, so we've got a bunch of artifacts around. Yeah, should still get archaeological museums. Make your archaeologist. Okay, we're going to trade with Thebes from Eritrea. Okay, I think that means that we now have, if I'm not mistaken, a trade route. Almost every civilization in the game. The only one we're missing is France. We got 1,200 gold. What do we want to spend it on? Let's click through and see if there's anything obvious. Yep, shipyard in Eritrea. There we go. Just halved the amount of time it'll take to build that amphitheater. So I think we've purchased most of our shipyards. Mykenae. Let's build your medieval walls. Okay, Congo are not going to like that. Okay, we're going to purchase the archaeologist in here and hard build a builder. The Acropolis needs to be placed in Pharsalos. I'm going to finally build the chancery and the medieval walls. Looks like we did build another settler, so we should absolutely bring it over towards France. Okay, so here's what I'm doing with this archaeologist. If you steal an artifact from within the territory of another civilization, they won't be happy, but it also doesn't have that big of an impact on their relationship with you, a -10. And if you've managed to stay friends with everyone throughout the game, you ought to be able to get away with stealing a few relics. Why am I stealing their relics instead of focusing on getting the ones in my territory? Well, because they might not give open borders to me later, and they can easily use archaeologists in their territory to scoop up the relics around them. I don't want that to happen. I want to have as many options for relics as I can possibly get. I'm sorry, not relics. Artifacts. Artifacts. We're going to get siege tactics next because we want our Renaissance walls. We will get some additional tourism out of having them. Already up to 500 culture per turn. 95 science too, so we are actually competitive with all the AIs in terms of science. And the amount of culture per turn they have is a lot lower than us. A lot lower. Okay, let's steal this relic here. Stole another artifact from the Russian territory. Okay, we're going to purchase the shipyard in Rhodes and get started on the medieval walls. Okay, we're going to buy an archaeologist in Sparta. Okay, so it looks like we can theme at least... Ooh, actually... Okay, so there's one archaeological museum themed, and here's another. It doubles the culture and triples the tourism output. Cool. So we're up to 179 tourism per turn. We've got 25 out of 82 tourists. As we can see, none of the other civilizations in the game have accrued any tourists. Okay, first up, we'll get the Renaissance walls. That will get us a nice extra bit of tourism, especially if we get it in every single city, which is what we're going to do. Pharsalos needs its shipyard for sure. And we'll get the Renaissance walls followed by the Archaeological Museum. And we get another great writer. Beautiful. Something from a city-state could be useful. Already in the information era. That was pretty fast, and that's just because of our insane culture per turn. Let's go ahead and review again. Yeah, Egypt is still at 80 culture per turn. We're at 651, 79 for Brazil, 66 for Russia, 63 for the Congo, 100 for the French, and 59 for Arabia. So it's not a wonder that we are getting all of the great writers, artists, and musicians. And we'll come into Eritrea, purchase the Archaeological Museum. There's still plenty of artifacts out there. We'll be able to buy this archaeologist in 2 turns. All right, this turn we are up to 293 tourism per turn, 44 out of 87 tourists, so we are past the halfway point, and things are only going to accelerate now. Yeah, there's one more themed museum. If we take a look here, we can see now any civilization we have a trade route with, tourism is boosted by 75% instead of 25%. It's a pretty strong boost. Let's see how much in tourists we make per turn. We're at 51 next turn. We take a look again. We are at 55, so we're already getting 4 tourists per turn. That means that we could be finished in as few as 8 turns. Okay, that's actually sooner than I was expecting. Didn't we need to buy an archaeologist in Eritrea? Yep. So let's go ahead and purchase that. Here's radio. So if we have any places where we could create seaside resorts, we might as well do so. The way you can know that is by looking at your appeal lens. Do you have any breathtaking tiles? Well, we do here. So we could put, for instance, a seaside resort on this tile right here. If only I can find the icon for seaside resorts. Where are they? Here. Yeah, we could put one here, and we could put one here. And that might be worth doing as well, removing that rice tile. Still no friendship. So Rome probably sees me as too much of a threat. Yeah, 60 out of 90 tourists. Well, we could just swap this in here. Okay, now the art museum in Ephesus is themed. All right, here's our first seaside resort. That's another 4 tourism per turn, just from that tile improvement. Ah, we are culturally dominant over Rome already. Yeah, they're right at the 60 mark. Okay. Although we'll buy this tile too, so we can plop down another seaside resort. Cool. Okay, we're up to 70 out of 90 tourists, so this game is almost over. And what did I do? I did exactly what I said at the beginning of the game. I have made settlers, builders, the Acropolis, and the Acropolises buildings. That's most of what I've done in this playthrough. That's all you gotta do to win it. And that's all you gotta do to get a culture victory with a Any civilization that has some sort of predisposition towards culture victories, that's it. That's all you got to do. It's as simple as that. All right, let's purchase that broadcast center now. And finally, we can actually finish up using Johann Sebastian Bach. Arabia beat us to the punch. Okay, we're not going to put a settler down over there. I'm going to delete this settler. I know it's a waste. Don't do this. Build settlers because you need them. I, on the other hand, am trying to find something to do before the game ends, but it looks like the game is just about over. So let's just click on options, let the turn roll over a couple of times, and then we will be done. All right, we're at 90 out of 92 tourists. So either the next turn or the turn after, we will see the victory screen. For that reason, I'm not going to do anything of substance on this turn. Any units that want something to do will instead just be told to sleep, with the exception of this great musician. So our final tourism total looks like it's 432. Yeah, you're not going to get there in time to get another relic, but that's fine. We've done our job. Turn rolls over. Russia actually denounced me. Interesting. It's because we're winning. And I stole a bunch of artifacts from them. Okay. Well, we're at 96 out of 92 tourists, so we've kind of officially won already. Let's just really quickly end this turn without thinking about it. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Next turn. Nope, still one more unit needs orders. Alright, I guess I'll take another artifact. Sure. Can I even theme one last museum? It does not appear I can. That's fine. Next turn. And we have the victory screen. Alright, I have earned a Hall of Fame badge. Wow, I'm very proud. We got the culture victory with the Greek Empire. Let's take a look at some of this stuff. If you haven't yet won a game of Civilization, then you should look forward to checking out your ranking. Ranking is determined by your total score. And if you are at a low difficulty level, then your score is likely to be lower unless you build an incredible ton of cities, wonders, etc. So actually most of the time also, even if you're on a high difficulty level, if you are efficient with winning the game, you will not probably reach the top of this ranking list. If you can win by turn 200, for instance, it's pretty unlikely that you'll make it past really number 5 or 6, probably something around that. Don't quote me on it though. Next, we have this graphs section, and there are some very useful graphs to choose from, especially if you're trying to see how you're doing as a relatively inexperienced player. We start with the buildings constructed, and on the left side, you can select or deselect civilizations and even city-states as well. So we are Pericles, we are the light blue line here, and it sure looks like we were literally at the top of the list for buildings constructed for the entire game, so that's one way that we made it easy to win. Cities founded, we always had more cities than any other civilization on the map. That's another way to guarantee victory a lot of the time. Districts constructed, okay, we tied for a teeny bit of time, but other than that, we had more districts than every other civ the whole game. And remember, for the most part, I only built 2 districts in most of my cities. The Acropolis and some sort of trading district. I didn't really go into detail about this while I was playing, but there are 2 trade districts, harbors, commercial hubs. Choose one of them for every city. If you have coast, you'll probably use the harbor. Great people earned. We got pretty much all the great people. I think it looks like a majority of the civilizations on this map probably only earned a great profit for creating a religion and nothing else beyond that. Player culture per turn. Wow, yeah, we dwarf the competition. Oh, this is incredible. Normally on deity level, what you will see happen, I would say on average for people who play deity well enough, is that Well, the time scale on this is different because we have a Renaissance era start. So you see the graph starts at technically turn 198. And looks like it's about 30 turns for every increment here. So I guess we won at approximately turn 330, which means we spent roughly 130 turns winning this map. Now, in a deity level playthrough, if you start in the ancient era, you can expect to be behind the AI for probably the first 150-ish turns, roughly speaking. And it's only after that that you start pulling ahead. Unlike this, where I am ahead the entire game. Now our faith, that was quite low. And it looks like probably Pedro, yeah, I think he had Sacred Path in Brazil, which adds faith to rainforest tiles and also adjacency on holy sites. So he probably built some holy sites. It's still even not that much faith per turn, honestly. Player gold all over the place. We can see it looks like most AI civs, not all of them, that's strange. It looks like most of them started with the same amount of gold that we did, and we spent our gold faster than anyone else. Rome is a little confusing here, as is Peter. Looks like they started lower, not sure how that works out. Anyway, we spent everything that we started with as quickly as possible to get the maximum value out of it, and you see that we spike all over the place throughout the rest of the game. We start earning better gold halfway through, and we're constantly using it for one thing or another. That's the purpose of gold. Don't hold on to it unless you're saving up for something in particular. Use your gold. Science. Interesting graph here. We're all basically together throughout most of the game. It's a pretty close race, and I was not trying. I think I only built one campus district, and that was very late into the game, and it was only because I wanted to have another city make use of the New Deal policy card to get extra housing and amenities. So even though I'm at the bottom of the pack for most of this, because we are specifically locked into a culture victory in this playthrough, it's just not relevant. Sure, science does unlock a couple things that assist with the culture victory, but it's not nearly as important as making it through the culture tree to get a bunch of the civics that are related. Here's the player score graph. I don't really even check player score most of the time. I've never done a score victory. There are people who like to do that. They have their reasons why, but I'm not one of them. Total religions founded is kind of an odd graph to take a look at because you can only ever found a maximum of one religion. So basically, all this does is serve to show you which civilizations made religions and which don't, typically. But for some reason, most of the civs didn't even appear on here. Only Pedro and Saladin. I didn't really pay attention, but I assumed that there were more than two religions in our game. So not sure if that's correct. Wonders constructed. Yeah, things are getting a little glitchy here. I don't know. Maybe it's somehow related to this new challenge. Because I'm sure I'm not the only civilization that made a wonder, right? Like, let's take a look. We click on just one more turn. Oh, okay. So we had two natural wonders on this whole map, and they're both on the same landmass. Basically, just there for France and the Congo to take. And I am the only civilization that built wonders. Okay, good to know. So why don't we also take a look at the religion screen? Okay, so only two religions were founded out of a possible 5, and I was generating great profit points. So this tells me there must be an issue with earning great profit points in later eras, perhaps? I don't know. This might require some investigation, and I'm not trying to dump that onto an inexperienced player. So anyway, let's do one last review. I had 16 cities in my empire. I did no conquest whatsoever. We started on this landmass with Argos and Athens, found out that there was plenty of space to make a good number of cities. We made 8 cities on this landmass. You could fit a 9th here easily enough. And if you were a little bit careful with placement, you may find a way to fit in 10th or even an 11th city, potentially. Could be done. But there are also little islands around where you start, where you could drop a couple cities, and I certainly did. And to the west, there was plenty of space along the south of the landmass for most of the game. You could settle all along here if you want to. I decided to come all the way over to Rhodes, mostly just to get the luxuries. I also settled a city to the north of this landmass, and a few onto this one. Now, these cities, some of them didn't really amount to much, but on our home landmass, we had everything we needed. Every single one of these cities had an Acropolis and a trade district. You can see the harbor icon on all of them except Athens. We could have built a harbor on this tile, but it would have been a pretty low quality harbor, so I didn't bother. If you do this and improve the land using builders, you will win. That's all there is to it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you'll join me again next time. This is the Long Lost Gamer, signing out.